Hello, my name
Hey
is Taylor
there.
Coyne, joining you from Los Angeles.
Right. And I'm James Cook, stepping on your lines.
Well, you're upset. It's because I live in LA, so everyone's upset with me right now, so it's fine. You just want to cut that piece off.
Because I'm coming to you from Indiana, from my home office, because it snowed all night and I didn't want to drive in terrible roads. And both of us research retail and real estate for JLL.
And this is everything we know about retail.
That's right, Taylor. This is the show where we tell all of you everything we know about retail, 3 things at a time.
So, James, this week, what do you know about retail?
Well, the first thing I know is that quick service chains are focusing their growth, their new store growth, on digital ordering, drive-throughs, and curbside pickup. But Taylor, what do you know about retail?
I know that SPACs, also known as blank check companies, will make it easier for new retailers to expand. But first, James, what's the first thing that you know about retail this week?
Well, Taylor, the first thing that I know about retail is actually not a great one. We're talking about this horrible winter weather that we have had here all across the United States. It has been a tough week. Millions of customers in Texas, Oregon, and other states went without power for days in freezing temperatures. In fact, right now, as we record this, millions of people are still without power. It's a huge bummer. And I have to say, our hearts are really going out to everybody that's without power. And, we're hearing stories in the news and from friends in Texas, being inside with 25-degree weather inside. These are unprecedented temperatures across the entire region. It's knocked off the power grids, and it pushed up the demand for energy, and it also slacked down in production, which means there's been rolling blackouts. And so this is a retail show, so we're going to talk specifically about how that affects retail. So let's take a look at this. This is the store status map from Walmart. Really impressive here. Walmart's done a great job of continually updating their opening and closing status. This is an Esri map, by the way. So shout out to ArcGIS. But at the peak, according to New York Times, there were 500 stores closed across the U.S. And now we can see that it's down to 205, and a closed store is a red dot. So you can really see that those red dots are really focused around mostly Texas.
Which is also, it's not even so concentrated. Like, that's a big area of closures. So that's just really emphasizes, I think, how expansive this is.
Yeah, I mean, Texas itself is the size of some countries, and that entire state from west to east, is all having sub-freezing temperatures at the same time, and it's really caused a perfect storm. And we're not even using that as a metaphor. It's literally a perfect storm. So Walmart, is, in a way, it's our national bellwether. It's our biggest retailer. So we really look to Walmart as to kind of what's going on in the world. So the fact that Walmart's been able to go from that 500 stores closed to now just 205, that's good news. Other reportings of closures, at one point CVS had closed over almost 800 stores, I believe. Walgreens 200. Now here's an interesting one. Home Depot had originally closed a lot of stores and then was able to quickly reopen them because all Home Depots have backup generators, which isn't something
they should, right? We sell them, we have them, we use them.
Oh, good. Good point. Yeah, they're like, we'll just get some out of the back and we'll just, plug them in. But yeah, Home
To
Depots
be
are,
fair, you'd need a big one for Home Depot, but still.
yeah. Well, right. Well, Home Depots are always the place that needs to be open when catastrophe happens. Floods, hurricanes, whatever. You need your Lowe's, you need your Home Depot. So, of course, it's fantastic that they were able to reopen with backup generators. So anyway, my take on this, we've got to think about climate change in a new way. In the past, when I talk and hear about retailers talking about climate change, it's the idea that they're going to reduce their CO2 emissions in order to positively affect climate change. But now they really need to have procedures in place to deal with things like rolling blackouts, wildfires, floods, all kinds of stuff, that we're just hearing more and more about as kind of these extreme weather events just become more and more common.
Can't catch a break,
I know it's a huge bummer, but the good thing is you hear about retailers like Home Depot that are thinking about how to deal with this and have plans in place. So Taylor, what do you know about retail?
So big pivot, even though I guess it is also about evolution. The second thing that I know about retail is that SPACs are going to be making it easier for new retailers to expand. So
First off, SPAC stands for...
Thank you for asking. A SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company. It is also known as a blank check company. So why are we talking about this? Because you've probably been seeing it like I have all over the news, various things. This is not only based in retail, but we're going to get to that point. But enough of these companies that I've been tracking have been flowing around this, going public through a SPAC. So it was time to do some research. So this blank shell corporation is basically designed to take companies public, but without going through the traditional IPO process. So the company, the SPAC, has no operations. Its sole purpose is to raise cash to eventually acquire an existing company. And it doesn't even have to know exactly what company it is that they want to acquire. So it's been around for decades. This isn't a new thing, but it's definitely peaked in this past year. Probably because a lot of people, in the finance world are saying a lot of it has to do with COVID-19, just because there was so much uncertainty, especially in the start of the year with the IPO market.
So Taylor, what does this have to do about retail?
Oh, thank you so much for asking, James. So really what we're seeing, so just to kind of give you an idea as well. So sorry that this is a little small at the moment, but the idea is you're seeing a huge increase in 2020. And some of this is due to retailers. So the light blue is the amount of capital that's raised through SPAC. So we can see that it's been a huge growth this past year. So the question is, why? So D2C brands, James, as you know, clicks to bricks retailers, we've written about them in the past. We track them now. All of these online retailers that started online, but now have been opening physical stores. So think Casper, that went through an IPO last year as well. So many of them are venture capital backed firms and have had a lot of access to capital. They haven't had the need to go public, but COVID-19 happens and everyone's kind of freaking out and unsure about raising large rounds of financing. So this new way is allowing some retailers to skip this IPO process, which can be a little complicated. So James, do you remember, Chewy went public last year? That was really, successful. Do you remember what happened to Casper last year? That was early last year.
Yeah.
So Casper went public. Everyone was super excited about it. No offense to Casper, but unfortunately, through that process, they released all of their financial information publicly, and it came at the cost of exposing, what parts of their businesses are not as successful. As we know, these brands spend a ton of money on marketing.
Isn't that what happened? Isn't that what happened with WeWork? Is like they issued all their documents for their IPO, and people are like, Seems like a lot of bells and whistles in here that aren't actually worth money.
Right. So, that's one example. Another is, those two razor companies, you're familiar with, Billy and Harry's. They were going to they were supposed to be acquired by, the maker of Schick and Procter and Gamble. The FTC was like, no, you can't do that anymore. So, people, I guess retailers, especially these D2C brands, want a little bit more certainty in another option. So BarkBox, they're known for their pet subscription boxes. And we also know that people are spending a ton of money on their pets, me included. But they decided, they went public in a 1.6 billion SPAC deal, which is, so they made their debut on the New York Stock Exchange. New ticker symbol, BARK. This was just announced this past week. Also, fun fact, Petco's ticker is woof. So, I just really like that. I just feel like everyone's being a little creative, getting a little fun with this. And, also Hims and Hers, the vitamin supplement company, they went public in a $1.6 billion SPAC with Oaktree. So it's just giving some of these brands that have gone through this traditional route in the past to go public and to take it to the next level. I think a lot of times we talk about with these clicks to bricks brands is what is the true future of it? Because we do know they spend so much money on customer acquisition. There's so much focus on this. And so I think we're going to see more retailers take this route to end up expanding their business. I think it gives them another option. And IPOs aren't going anywhere. The chart you saw, 2020 still was I think it was the biggest IPO market in like 2 decades of how much money and capital was raised from those. So, I just think this is just going to be another way that retailers are going to end up being creative. So I also think for the point for D2Cs is they're not going anywhere. They're still going to be expanding. Physical is still going to be important. We're just going to see new methods of them getting to that place, to getting more stores and all of that. Okay. So it's a new round of finance.
Let me bottom line it here from people who are trying to absorb people like myself who are not smart about financial things. Okay, so you start a company and you want to have your exit, whereas you make all your money. Mm-hmm. And one traditional exit is IPO, which is you shall sell shares on the stock market. Then there's this thing called a SPAC, where people basically create a fund of money ahead of time, and then they just use that money to buy the company. And because it's not regulated in the same way, it's faster and it's easier to do. There's less hurdles. Is that a right way to say it?
Yes, even though there are, and again, I'm just really diving into this mostly because I'm seeing so many of these retailers I track go this route. It's complicated. There are still negatives to it. But I think what a lot of retailers are attracted to is that it does give you some certainty of what your company is going to be valued for. So you don't have a Casper situation where there was a huge fluctuation of what everyone was expecting and then what everyone happened. You go into this deal knowing what, it's a pre-decided value.
Now I get it. You're negotiating what it's worth as opposed to throwing it on the stock market, on the open market, and hoping that you get a price that you like.
Essentially, I'm sure there are so many more nuances. I highly recommend anyone who is so confused by this, and hands raised, this is something that I'm going to continue to be reading about and understanding as more retailers do this. CB Insights has a great primer with visuals on how this works. But James, just to show you that this is, not going somewhere, Simon, one of our biggest mall owners, also just, created a SPAC this week, early in February. I think it was early in February. So they formed a 300 million blank check company targeting innovative retail companies. There's a lot of jargon of kind of what they're going to do, but also the point of it is they don't have to necessarily say what they're going to do with it. But that means that that's another option for them to buy some of their struggling retailers in their mall portfolios, which, they've done in the past. Think, Forever 21, Aeropostale. So it's just, again, it's going to provide some more creativity. It doesn't have to be retailers. It can be, a tech company that touches the retail industry. Tech innovation. So I know it's really complicated. I agree. But I think it's not going anywhere and we should know about it because it's going to impact who gets to expand, who succeeds, who wins in the future.
So the show It's normally everything we know about retail, and today it's things we're learning together about retail.
James, though, this is like last week when we had something to correct. Yes, I'm taking everyone along with this journey as I learn about it too, because I think it's not going anywhere. We better get used to this. We're going to be reading more, so we better start understanding it. So yes, this is a really collective community activity. So get ready. It's going to come again. I'm going to become a finance, guru. And on that note, James, what else do you know about retail?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Taylor. The third thing that I know about retail is that there are a lot of new quick service prototypes out there that are doubling down on digital, contact free, and carry out. And we're going to do a little bit of a roundup rodeo. Are you ready to go with this?
I love rodeos.
Okay. Well, I purely a rodeo because it's a roundup and I love alliteration. So we're going to go through a couple of different concepts here. First one up is Starbucks Pickup. We've seen Starbucks Pickup for a while. There was just a new location that opened this past month, but the first location opened last year in Manhattan. There's also locations in Toronto. So this is pickup of digital orders only. Let's see here.
I wonder how many people are going to be confused by that, walking in, hoping that they can buy a coffee, and they're like, no, you gotta order on the app first.
Right. You walk in. He's like, yeah, I'd like a latte. Yeah, I'm sorry. You gotta download the app on your phone. Make the order on your phone.
And then the person's like, but no. But I see. Just give me the coffee. I see the things. Just make me the coffee.
It's what's the scene in 40-year-old version where it's at the sell it on eBay store. I just want to buy these boots.
Yes. He's like, no, that's not what the purpose is. But then you have a storefront. So I'm just saying this is a little confusing for some people.
Yeah, totally. So it's pickup of digital orders only. They're pretty bare bones. They're pretty small. They're going to be in CBDs, so business districts. COVID overall has accelerated the speed and pace of just picking up and digital ordering in general. And not to be confusing, but pickup is the name of this store concept, but it's also the name of the overall process at Starbucks of making your order ahead of time on the app and then picking it up in any store. It's just these are specific small stores totally organized around that. But that being said, Starbucks is really focusing their growth right now on drive-through and curbside, and it's not in the cities at all. It's in the suburbs, because the suburbs is where it's at right now for all fast food sales. People are coming through like my friend here in this photo, getting their drive-through pickups and socially distancing as best they can. Yeah. I haven't been doing a whole lot of Starbucking lately because of that, because I'm an indoor person and I really do enjoy picking up my coffee, and usually I'll sit down and enjoy it a little bit if I'm not in a rush.
The only time I really get Starbucks is at work, and that was like a thing to do with coworkers, as we'd is in our the kind of the basement food area of our building. And now that I'm home, I'm just making coffee myself, or supporting my local coffee shop.
Yeah,
who has very good matcha croissants.
Oh,
shout out to Found Coffee.
All right, Found Coffee in Los Angeles, Eagle
Rock. Highly recommend.
Go check it out. So up next, we're talking about a new Chipotle prototype called the Digital Kitchen. So the first digital kitchen opened up in the end of last year in New York State, Highland Falls. This is similar to Starbucks Pickup in that really it's just about that digital ordering. There's no dining room. There's no front service line. So think about that. That is the signature Chipotle thing, the waiting in line and pointing at what you want. That's not here. You have to order digitally. The store itself is a smaller footprint, but think about that. If you don't have to pay for people to work a front line and you've got a smaller store, that means your operating costs are going to be lower. and it allows you to open more stores in more areas. So that's both areas with lower density and areas with populations with lower income. So it could be an opportunity to get Chipotle into more neighborhoods. So, but then again, on the balance, people in poor neighborhoods are less likely to be able to order online and digital banking and all that. So I don't know, six of one, half dozen of the other, maybe.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's, again, this goes back to this. I just want my burrito. You're making them. Make one for me as I'm standing here. Here's my cash.
Right.
So yeah, it's still this kind of a little bit of a haves and have nots. Plus, then you also have to how many apps are we going to have?
Oh, perfect point. We could talk about that all day. I'm not even a huge picker upper, but because of COVID, I got at least 6 apps on my phone, and probably 3 or 4 of them that I use pretty regularly, which is kind of a pain. It'd be great to have them as a single app. Speaking of apps, let's move on to Chipotle. So Chipotle's only now testing curbside pickup. So they've been great about rolling with digital in-store pickup, but unlike, say, Panera, which has been really strong with curbside, Chipotle is just now rolling it out. They're testing it in 29 stores in California. I'm sure that eventually this gets rolled out further. I mean, and it's the same process you're already familiar with. You're ordering ahead on your app, then you get there, you park, you hit I'm here on your app, and they come and bring it out to you. I can't imagine that they won't push this to more locations in the future.
Definitely not. You actually could think about that. You're almost surprised that it's not already everywhere.
Yeah. And speaking of Chipotle, the biggest curbside rollout that they're doing is with the wrong one. Is with the Chipotlanes, not Taco Bell. Taco Bell's next. The Chipotlanes. So they quickly rolled out these drive-throughs, but they're not drive-throughs because you're only picking up digital orders. You can't order there. You're just ordering ahead and then picking it up. They hit 100 Chipotlanes in July. I just checked this morning. The best tally I could find is that they're now at 170 Chipotlanes. Yeah, and there's more opening up every day. If you just Google Chipotlanes in Google News, they just opened up one in Detroit, several in Orlando, just everywhere. It's Chipotlane City.
And James, to clarify, at least for this one, they still is the Chipotlane only for pre-orders? Is there another lane? You've seen some of these mock-ups where you see app lane only. Nope, I'm ordering right here for the first time. Now we have different lanes on if you've pre-ordered or if you're trying to order your burrito when you're there.
Chipotle is not doing any traditional drive-through. It's all app order. So you're ordering your app ahead of time, ordering with your app ahead of time. And I've been in situations not at Chipotle, but other places where I'll get there and then in the parking lot, make the curbside order on my phone and wait for them to bring it out to me. So it's not always ordering ahead. It's just you have to order it digitally.
Again, now I'm imagining the scenario of it not being clear and this poor person waiting in the drive-through line, getting there and being like, I'd like these things. And they're like, no.
Yeah. Again, just like the scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin where he's like, I just want to, how can I buy these boots? It's going to be like somebody sitting in a window with a $20 bill saying, just give me a burrito. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, that's not how it works. You're going to have to do this again. You're going to have to download the app. Again, it's just, I think it's a learning curve for just the average population of realizing that these new changes are happening and this is how you're going to get your food. And while it is supposed to be convenient, I think for a lot of people up front, they're going to be like, well, this is not how a drive-through works.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got more drive-through digital forward concepts as we move to Taco Bell. So this is the Taco Bell. My wife makes fun of me because I say Taco Bell. How do you say it?
Taco Bell.
Yeah. That's how everybody else says it.
You go up on the A. Taco Bell. What do you do? Taco Bell?
I don't know. I'm confused. Taco Bell. Anywho, so this is the Go Mobile concept, which was announced, I think, at the end of last year when they released this image. Now, at the time, they said they were going to open up 2 of these in Q1. I have not seen any of these open yet. So if they are going to do it in Q1, it's going to be happening pretty soon. So they're tiny. So traditional Taco Bell is going to be 2,500 square feet ish. These are 1,325 square feet. These are where you get your dual drive-ins. So these have dual drive-in lanes. They have places for curbside pickup, and then they have what they're calling bellhops, which is basically a concierge team with tablets that are helping with ordering. Now, I would imagine that team could be operating both outside in the parking lot and inside the store at the same time, helping people with ordering. But anywho, so whenever we do get a Taco Bell Go mobile opening, I will certainly be checking out video. My big thing is to go on YouTube and see video of people who are visiting these places. Taylor, I used to go to places.
What was that like?
Yeah, God, I tell my grandkids about it. We would go to stores when they opened, new stores, and we would see what they were like. But
when
now
when you were hungry, you just went to a place and you ordered.
But now I just live vicariously through YouTube. As I was doing some research for Go Mobile, I was checking out the Taco Bell News Twitter account, and they had this tweet, which I loved it, so I thought I'd share it. It said, "Congratulations to our latest international franchise partners, national retail brands, on the opening of their new Taco Bell location in Watford, England." And this is the photo that they tweeted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I immediately was like, oh, I got to learn about this. This is an adaptive reuse. So this is not a new build Taco Bell, no doubt about it. So this is, of course, I went down the rabbit hole very quickly. This is in Watford, England, which is within you familiar with the M25 loop? So this is within that. So it's Greater London. It's northwest of the city proper. And this is, what do you think this formerly was before it was a Taco Bell?
I mean, no question, it was either a pub or an old-timey inn.
It was 100% a pub. Here's another photo. The pub, according to the Watford Observer, Taylor, which now I'm a reader of, it was a former pub called the One Bell Pub, which closed in 2016, and it was popular with residents, with local shoppers and football fans. People would come and watch football games, but it closed in 2016. And I've got to say, I think Taco Bell did a good job. The franchisee did a good job with this. I really like a good, retail adaptive reuse. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't see any place for the locals to watch the football game, but
Yeah, that's the problem. But I'd much rather see a place like this go to some kind of use than to no use at all.
Sit vacant or something. So yeah, it's
I love traveling too when you go to certain cities, and I'm trying to think of maybe like a Santa Fe or what's the Red Rocky city north of Phoenix? I'm totally blanking on the name. Sedona. Yeah, you go to these places that have very strict regulations around architecture, but you'll see fast foods open, but they don't look like their regular concept. I always get tickled by that.
That is a very good description of, seeing one of those. I just get tickled by that.
Well, and just anything where you can see like like behind the scene, like, oh, it used to be a Pizza Hut, now it's something else. I love all that stuff.
For sure. All right, to pivot away from quick service, James, this is our last item. I think it's time to revisit our herd immunity discussion. I know we're going to be revisiting this a lot, but it's important that we talk about it right now.
So, Taylor, in other words, we have an item for discussion.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do.
All right. So we're talking about herd immunity. And Taylor, you're going to bring up my favorite website, which I talk about all the time.
Your favorite website? This one?
Yeah. So this is Path to Herd Immunity website from Hugo Gang. He is an MIT data scientist. updates this model regularly. Now, in the past, I've followed his lead and focused on herd immunity. But he's now saying, and I think it makes sense, that we're not as interested in herd immunity as we are interested. See, he did a strike through there.
Which I really appreciate. I really appreciate that. I am tickled by what he did there.
We're now interested in a return to normal. So the idea here was that initially herd immunity was going to be 70%, where 70% of the population had the vaccine or had the virus and now had some kind of built-in immunity. We're quickly realizing if you go to the end of this thing, that even at the end, I'm sorry, when I said the end of this thing, I meant if you hover over January.
There's a new chart.
If you go all the way to the right, you can see this year we're not going to hit 70% according to these new projections. But the idea is that we don't really have to hit any arbitrary percentage in order for things to return to normal. For things to really be normal, it's just your circle of people all have had to have their 2 vaccine doses and then waited whatever it is they're saying. Like, it depends on the dose, but let's say it's 2 weeks. So if everybody at your office is 2 weeks out, people are going to feel safe to go back in the office. If everybody in your friend group or in your family group is 2 weeks out of their second dose of their vaccine, even if the US as a whole isn't at 70%, you're going to feel safe enough to go to a sit-down restaurant, go to the movies. So I think we're not going to focus on herd immunity anymore as we talk about this, following that lead. We're just going to talk about, percentages of the population that have been vaccinated, and we're just going to look at overall behavior. So I think recovery is sort of going to be like a rubber band, in that you're going to have these pockets where when vaccines go wide in April, and you can see that blue line on that second chart, when we're hitting, millions of doses per day, that's its first dose at 1.8 million. That's going to be fantastic.
And
when that
April.
happens,
that says on this, April 15th seems to be kind of the peak, which, is not that far away.
Right. And if you consider you get your first dose in April, you get your second dose 2 weeks later, and then a couple weeks after that, you are out and about and partying like it's partying like it's 2019.
Yeah. My only thing is, the problem is, you may get that appointment in April. Your next door neighbor may not get onto that website until June, but still you're starting that path. So your whole bubble may not get it, but at least a couple of you. And then even then you just start feeling better. Just start feeling better.
Right. And so it's really about your, getting back to this, it's your friend group and your family group. When everybody's been covered, that's when I think your world changes and that mental model changes. So, and we've been talking, Taylor, we were joking about, at one point we were going to say arbitrarily July 26th, we were going to call it Herd Immunity Day. I think we still need to create a new national holiday. What do you think? But it's not Herd Immunity Day anymore. It's something else.
It's something else. We can come up with a name. I still like the date because I still think shooting towards something realistic. Like, yes, you can see on that chart that we had up that it's going to be April. We know it's not April. We know that's not when, that's when you start getting excited that you get to, go on the website and actually book your appointment. But I like our date, but I'm with you. Let's not have it National Herd Day.
Okay. So we initially talked about July 26th, but then I realized that's not a Thursday. So I think
July 29th, right?
29th, which is 160 days away. So close enough that I can see it on the horizon, but not, long enough time that we can get these immunities going. So we have a lot of things to think about here, Taylor. Are you ready to tackle the first of these with me?
Sure.
What are we calling it? What do we call it? So we could go with a pre-existing holiday, Taylor, because of course that July 29th is already National Chicken Wing Day. It is National Chili Dog Day. It is National Lasagna Day. And it is also National Lipstick Day.
Who decides these?
Oh, it's like the National Lipstick Council of America,
And it's just like, suddenly lay a claim on this day. Hooray.
I know,
No,
right?
I'm gonna pass on all of those. I'm gonna leave those to those groups. I think we have to
Okay.
create another one.
Okay, so we're creating another one. I had a few ideas. One was really simple: National Normal Day
Hmm.
or Dia Normal.
I kind of
No,
like that. I kind of do
like
like
Dia
that.
Normal.
I do kind of
That was
like Dia
my
Normal.
my that was my thought of like Dia de los Muertos. Like we should have, because we should recognize that a large percentage of our folks in America don't speak Spanish as well as English, or instead of English, and so that would be a way to recognize them.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
like kind of on board with that.
Okay, then another one I thought was just, what if it's Normal Thursday?
Normal Thursday. Isn't that kind
Real
of
simple.
a part of me likes that because it's not about, I mean, of course it's a celebration, but right, we just are talking about going back to a restaurant and going
Yeah.
to a bar with friends. I kind of like that. Normal Thursday.
Okay, and then there was another idea I had was National Virus Freedom Day, which sounds a little too official.
Yeah. It sounds like we need a flag.
Yeah. It's like after V-Day, it's like Victory Day, it's a little too military for me too. Okay, COVID Escape Day?
Maybe.
Okay. It's like you just solved an escape room where an invisible virus really just locked you in an escape room for a year
again,
and a
we're
half.
escaping it to the bar. Clearly that's like all I want to do. I just want to go to a brewery with my friends and just like hang out.
Okay,
Bar, whatever. Anyway.
my last idea was a long one. Okay, chili chicken lasagna lipstick presents a day of freedom.
Honestly, I actually like that and Normal Thursday. Those are my two top ones. Let's take how ridiculous all of the national days are and do chili chicken lasagna lipsticks presents a day of freedom. I mean, it's really just for us too. And that one tickles me.
Okay. Now that I think about it, here's my proposition. We call it Normal Thursday, but then the way we celebrate it involves some of the aspects of chili chicken, lasagna, lipstick, things like that. Because in the coming weeks, we can talk more about how we're going to celebrate this holiday.
I think that sounds great. On board.
Okay.
Sold.
Okay. All right. So I'm highlighting it in my notes. It is now called Normal Thursday. And upcoming questions: how do we celebrate Normal Thursday? Is it annual, or is it just a one-time thing? We're going to figure that all out in the coming weeks. In the meantime, why don't you check out our podcast? It's called Where We Buy. This week, I interviewed the CEO of Connect, which is a new entertainment concept, Taylor, that is expanding. They're opening new locations of 20,000 square feet. Well, people will go and do things in person together, like play games and drink beer and eat food. So
can't wait until Normal Thursday.
Yes, that's where Normal Thursday festivities are happening. Go to Where We Buy Show or search for Where We Buy in any podcast app that you enjoy.
You can also hit the subscribe button so you are alerted for all of our future episodes. Our next one will be Thursday, February 25th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. But of course, watch the replay anytime, all the time.
Hit that subscribe button. Get notified when we come out. We watch the show. I'm going crazy. I'm going snow crazy.
Yeah, Taylor, we need Normal Thursday. We need Normal Thursday.
Snow out there, Taylor. I'm going crazy. Taylor, what else do you know about retail?
James, I'll tell you all of it next week.